live, sir.
Good evening and welcome you all back to the Big Talk. This is Medul Krish talking to you from Amrita Vishwavidyalaya headquarters at Timade, Coimbatore. So we have, in fact, every time we bring in people with experience, exposure to different fields, and generally I have the habit of reading one's profile. But in this case, I have a special guest with me with whom we had worked together for quite a few years with MRF Tires. So instead of me reading out his profile, I would certainly like to start off with asking him a few questions, right? To clarify as to where he started and which all companies he has gone and what are his achievements, and then now finally settled in which company. So he's Mr. Kiran Kumar Naik, right? He will talk to us on where he started and which year he started, which part of administration or HR or finance or marketing he was in. So what are the achievements that he has gone through in his career path? We'll take off what 5 to 10 minutes like that to know the person much more closer than me just reading out that he has started with this company, went on to that company, was heading this, heading that. So that was the usual stuff of introducing a guest. So Mr. Kiran, are you there?
Sir. Yes, Mr. Kiran.
Welcome you for this big talk, and we are indeed thankful to you for your time with us, and I'm sure with your deliberations that our students across the country, across different campuses would certainly benefit out of this discussions on a topic which is quite burning these days. So before we start the topic and talk about what the topic is all about, I want you to just let us know when did you start your career, where are you been to, and what are positions that you held, and one or two achievements that you had in your career. Over to you, Mr. Kiran.
Sure, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Kuti, for that brief introductory note. Yeah, first of all, let me thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of your Big Talk series. I think it's definitely a privilege to be part of Amrita Vishwavidyalaya and your, this Big Talk series. Having said that, coming to my personal professional life, I started my career way back in 1989. This was with MRF. I just finished my MBA, and then my first job was with MBA. It was the sales function. So I was based out of Bangalore and Mangalore. Initially, I was trained in Bangalore and then posted in Mangalore. So my journey started there. It was my first job, and then over a period of 4 years, I was promoted and moved to Hyderabad. That's where I met you.
That's where we are in the year 1993.
93, yes, you're right. So I moved to Hyderabad in 1993, handling the service department of MRF there for Hyderabad, AP state. Then, of course, it was the United States. And then I was there for 4 years in Hyderabad, moved to Ahmedabad as district manager, once again promoted and moved to Ahmedabad as a district manager. I was there for 1 year, and then that's when I made a career change. I moved from MRF to Goodyear Tires. So I moved to Goodyear Tires as a senior district manager. I was posted again in for some time in Vijayawada, then a couple of years in Hyderabad, and then for a couple of months in Jalandhar, that was in Punjab. That's where I was taking care of Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir.
I met you in Jalandhar also, right?
Yes. We had dinner together. So yeah, that was for a very brief period. That's when I decided to once again to move my career, and then I joined Reliance Industries in the petroleum business. That was Reliance was just coming up with the petroleum retail outlets. So I was one among the first few people who joined Reliance during the setting up of the petroleum business. So there I was, there was a department called customer loyalty. So I was in the customer loyalty business of the petroleum business and handling Andhra Pradesh. I was there for pretty long, almost 9 years, right from the organization started, and then we set up a lot of petrol outlets, and then sales also. Some big good achievements to talk there. And from there, I moved to, I was there with Popular Automobiles, one of the largest Maruti dealers in the country. So they were appointed as the Jaguar Land Rover distributors for Karnataka. So I was one of the first, again, here, where we set up the entire organization, the operations for Jaguar Land Rover, the new office in Mangalore with new setup in Mangalore. So again, though it was short for 1 year, but it was one of my best periods where I could really contribute something to the organization and gain some recognition for the organization within the Tata family. Then from there I moved to, I think that was a major shift from consumer semi-durables to IT. So I shifted
to IT. All right.
IT. Okay. Totally, different. Many people still ask me, why did you take that decision? That's a very difficult question to answer, but then I had to take a decision. I took the decision. And I'm glad that I took the decision. So 2000, I think sometime in 2011 or 12, I took this. I moved to 2013, I moved to a company called Both Tree Consulting based out of Hyderabad, US-based company with operations across India and US. So I was there for about 5 years, learned a lot of things there. It's totally different selling, services selling, consulting, business. And then just a year back, I moved to Bangalore from Hyderabad. I joined another IT consulting company called US Software Services Group. So here again, it's about provide. We do two different verticals here. One is the professional services. I can't hear you.
What is the company called? What is it?
US Services Group.
Okay.
So here again, it's IT services and consulting company. So we have two verticals. One is the professional services vertical, where we help customers in their staffing requirements, and also we have a services and consulting business where we help customers in building their digital transformation journey, and also do some consulting and services, IT services. So this is in brief about my journey professionally.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as you said, which is actually the best year of your working, in the sense you started, maybe you're now working for almost more than 34, 35 years now?
30
which
years.
Year would be 30 years. Which should be the best? The memory
I would. That's a very difficult question. Because
every year is a memorable year for you.
Yeah. So,
but
so every company.
Which you really enjoyed, that you can never forget that in your life, that this year is the best year and this is the country. You mentioned about Jaguar. I mean, that it was for a year.
It's for a year. So what I mean to say is, when I joined MRF, it was my first job. So it was a great learning journey for me. Those 9 years in MRF was something which established me, and it taught me really how to stand professionally in a tough sales and marketing world. So it was a real great learning experience in MRF. And then I moved to Goodyear, from an Indian company to a multinational company. So the experience in Goodyear was totally different. There was a multinational experience you gained there. And then from there, I came to Reliance. Reliance, again, a startup. So it's a totally different experience. So earlier, established companies were selling their products and trying to improve the market share. Here, you join a company with a startup, you're building it from ground. So, and then it's trying to establish yourself with tough competition from the PSUs. And then there was a lot of price competition and all of things. It was not a liberalized market those days, so we had tough competition from the PSUs in terms of pricing and all those things. But still, that was a different kind of a learning, how to do a startup and how to establish a startup. From there, like Jaguar Land Rover also is a kind of a startup experience only. It was just 1 year old when I joined Jaguar Land Rover, Popular Automobiles in Bangalore. And why I mentioned that, though it was for a short stint, I really enjoyed this stint in the Popular because after I left, probably 2 months after I left, I got a call from the managing director of the company, somewhere around 10:30, 11 in the night. And I could hear a lot of music and noise from the background. So he called me specifically to congratulate me and thank me, because that evening was an award ceremony of Jaguar Land Rover dealers across the country, and landmark the dealership of Popular Automobiles in Bangalore for Jaguar Land Rover won 7 awards that night. And he wanted to give me that credit. I said, because of your leadership that you provided and the process, because it was a totally process-oriented organization there. So there were a lot of audits that take place, and most of these awards are based on those audit results. So that is something, one of the redeeming moments for you, when after you leave the organization, the managing director calls you and tells you, gives you the credit for what has been done. So that's why I mentioned that it's one of my most memorable, probably tenure, though short.
Yeah, you're right, because in the current situations, even if you're working and something like that happens, nobody calls you up and give the credit to the person who have really done wonders for the organization. But in this case, where the Popular, they have the MD calls you up at 11 o'clock and congratulates to you, who has already left the organization, I think it's a wonderful experience that
Very true,
everybody
very
could envy and keep that a long way in your life. So congratulations, Kiran, and now let's get on to business. The topic today is on economic revival and the job market. I think when we spoke about what we are going to talk for this big talk, we decided on economic revival. But who knew that in the last couple of days, no, if you look at 2 days back, we have the Statistical Office, National NSO, releasing about the not GDP, what we call as the GDP. It's more not minus growth. It's called contraction today, right? We are somewhere around 23.9% contraction, and we were expecting something around 4 to 5%, minus growth in the GDP, but 23.9, and I remember those days when UK was somewhere around 20.5. We used to say, "Oh my God, what is this 20.5? Minus growth. How is UK going to survive for the next 3-4 years?" So all those topics were going on. With US was around 9.5, Japan was around 7.5, all minus growth. You had Italy, Germany, France, all growing downwards, and I believe this. The maximum minus growth in GDP for India was somewhere around 5% or so. And this is something which is, in fact, unbelievable. Unbelievable means nobody expected this. I mean, I being an economics student, I also felt that it's going to be somewhere around, let's say, less than 10%. And we were, in fact, talking last year about 10% plus growth in our GDP. And this has landed up. And I don't think I could blame all this exclusively for, COVID-19, right? There are other countries also had this COVID-19, but their growth is not to the extent of 23.9%. You agree with that, Mr. Kiran?
True.
And I believe from the same people who predicted this, the same people, the economists who have predicted this, are going to say that September we are going to see a dip of 8%, and next quarter, the second quarter, the GDP is going to be minus 1% or so. And even if you have neither growth, no minus growth, no positive, it is 0, 0, 0. The entire year, starting from April 2020 to March 2021, if further all the 3 other quarters is going to show zero growth, we will still have about minus 6% contraction in our GDP. And this is what it is. And I believe, and I also been reading in the papers, that April and May has been, India has been watching a 23% unemployment. People have lost jobs, people's pays are cut. The money is not there in the hands of the poor. So unless you put money into the hands of the poor, this economy cannot survive. You need to create that sort of, we need to take loans, which we are not taken. And whatever is the deficit, of course, whatever the deficit also has to be handled in a different way. So all this are being spoken, being talked about. So under these circumstances, I don't know what we are going to talk, Mr. Kiran. Are we going to talk about employment in the future? I mean, it's a question of survival of our economy. Forget creating employment for our people in the next 2-3 years. So what is your call on to this? I think it is maybe right or wrong time, but we are into sort of, a dying economy. I'm not very pessimistic about it. I'm not criticizing, but looking at 23.9%, and the entire economy is going to be at minus 6% contraction for this year from April to March. I doubt very much that India will be able to create as much jobs as you are going to. I don't know whether you're looking at the positive side of it or negative, I don't know. But maybe as a person with a bit of an economics background, I look at on a positive note that India is going to face problems and challenges as far as the employment is concerned. So I don't know how you want to go about, whether you have a PowerPoint presentation or whatever way you want. You have answers to this to convince me that yes, Krish, what you're saying is all wrong. India is going to watch, the globe is going to watch a better globe. India is going to see a better economic growth in the next 1 year, 2 years, so that our students, our children who are investing money onto our campus, different streams, will at least by end of this talk come with a positive note. Over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Kuti. So basically, I would like to take this in 2 parts. One is, yes, definitely I have a very small presentation. I would like to share that. But before I share that, I just thought I'll give a few thoughts on the points that you raised. Yes, 23.9% contraction is definitely not a very healthy sign. But then, having said that, we should also acknowledge the fact that India had one of the stringent lockdown processes compared to any other country in the world. India had one of the most stringent lockdown process. So it was expected when this lockdown was announced. Many economists did expect that the Q1 contraction could be close to 20, anywhere between 20 to 25%. But finally it landed at 23.9, 24%. But having said that, if you look at the hard data that is available for the months of July, August, right? Things are much improving. There's a lot of difference between what happened in April, May, June, and in July, August. Things are definitely improving. There are signs of improvement in the economy.
Kiran, I have something to say. When you split it into, like, for example, if you look at industries, minus growth is somewhere around 38.3%. Then if you find services around 20.3%. When you look at manufacturing, it is around 39.6%. Agriculture, we used to look at we felt that it's going to pick up, but it's again about 3.4%. And last is on trade and hotels and restaurants. All this is around 47.6%. So overall, if you look at dissect it into all this, it is quite alarming, Kiran.
So yeah, we are again what we are looking at. These numbers are all pertaining to April, May, June. Like I said, April, May was totally washed out because it's total lockdown. No economic activity took place anywhere other than government spending and agricultural sector. So if you see some kind of parity was achieved in government spending, and if you see the percentage was much lesser. Similarly, in agriculture sector, though it was expected much higher numbers, at least 3.4 positive was seen in the agriculture sector. So it is it's an exception because the period was such. It was total lockdown. Like no other country had this kind of a lockdown. They had a lot of, they are more liberal in their lockdown in many countries because they were more concerned about economy than the health of the people. Right or wrong, our government took a decision to giving more priority to health of the population than the economy in a short-term basis because ours is a huge population. So they had to take the decision. It's right or wrong, it is debatable. I'm not willing to debate right now on that.
We are not here to debate on the government's stand on lockdown.
Having said that, I'm going to take a glass half glass full view about the entire thing. Facts are there. Facts say that things are not very good. Facts are also there, which gives us indication that things can be better in the near future. Now, how this is going to happen, which segments this is going to happen, what sectors will really grow is something that we'll have to dissect and see. So I just share my presentation, Mr. Kuti. I'll just share it on the screen. Probably then probably we can for next 20 minutes we can quickly run through the presentation. I hope you can see it.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So this is what we were supposed to talk today: the economic revival and the job market and outlook post COVID-19. Right. So is it distracting? Yeah, this should be better. So let us go back a few years. If you look at the projections in 2018-19, they were pretty rosy, right? Actually, the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the United States forecasted an employment growth for software developers. So in my entire presentation, we might be a little biased towards the IT industry because I currently represent the IT industry. So I might take a more biased view from an IT industry perspective. So they forecasted almost 21% growth between 2018 to 2028. So everything looked very, very rosy and people were gung-ho. But then COVID happened. Right? If you take some of the comments made by some people who based on certain studies, like Tech Surveillance CEO Mark Roberts said the decline wasn't a surprise. But it was 15 years ago during the dot-com bust when a drop of this magnitude was last seen. Now, when the dot-com bust happened, similar kind of drop in employment happened in the IT industry, or probably even a little more. But the positive side of it is, if you see Y2K was something that happened, when we moved from 1999 to 2000. IT industry really, had a major slump, but that gave a big boost to the IT industry in India. All over the world, people were really worried, but Indian IT industry took advantage of the situation. It gave a big boost to the IT industry in India. Similarly, during the SARS virus, if you go by during the SARS virus, it gave a major fillip to Alibaba in China. their entire online business grew during the SARS business, right? So when you look at these things, it really gives you hope that things are not that bad. See, the problem today in India is in the months of April, May, June, India not only had job losses, they also found a dip in new jobs. No new jobs were created in addition to job losses and salary cuts, right? Uh, and is it only in India? It's across. If you look at the data provided by Indeed Jobs, one of the job portals they say the hiring activity in India has dropped by 49%, and compared to United Kingdom, it was minus 60%. Ireland was minus almost 50%. Mexico was 61%. So that's the kind of drop happened across the globe. Despite many of them not having the kind of stringent lockdowns that we had, the drop there in the IT hiring was much higher than in India, right? In India, nearly 19 million people have lost their jobs, salaried people. Right? This is according to the CMI data. So yes, things are happening. If you look at some of the reactions of some of the major giants, after the lockdown, which were the sectors that were affected? Aviation was badly affected. Flights were totally halted. Hospitality industry was very badly affected. All hotels were closed. No bill travel. High street retail was affected. The brick and mortar showrooms of the retail sector was very badly affected. Everything was closed for 60 days. Travel and tourism was totally affected. So these were the industries which were very highly impacted, right? But look at the reactions to some of the giants, like a company like Microsoft, right? They reduced the job openings by 46% in the 3-week period, right? So I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, right? I mean, neither am I willing to speculate, right? Because enough of rhetoric is already there, and people have been talking about these things in plenty. But facts are facts. We need to know these need to be stated, because when we know the facts, then we can plan. Like I said, I want to take a half glass full view of the entire situation, right? Look at Google. Google, which had 20,000 people last year, said they've freezed hiring. They said we will not hire in 2021, right? Then what does Gartner say? Gartner, one of the people who do a lot of studies around IT industry, they said IT spending is expected to fall by 8% this year. 8% on a multi-trillion number is huge. 3.4 trillion is the IT total spending that happens. On that, 8% is the drop that is expected from the IT industry. So is it so bad in all the sectors? Across the sectors? I would say no. Within IT, there are some subsegments where growth has been experienced. Where, like for example, public cloud services, right, which falls within IT categories. Then there's been good growth in this particular segment, in the IT segment, within the IT segment. Cloud-based telephony. Then the messaging as well as cloud-based conferencing business, like the Zooms, what we're doing right now. There's a good heavy growth that was seen in cloud-based conferencing business, right? Whether it is Zoom, whether it is Microsoft Teams, whether it is Google, what do you call that? Google also has got a similar facility, right? Conferencing facility, right? So there has been a flight to digital. People are going digital. So wherever businesses are getting into a digital mode and willing to spend to transform the digital space, there has been an improvement, right? For example, during the lockdown, from April to June, there has been an increase of anywhere between 10 to 50% in offtakes on online business. When I say 10 to 50%, different sectors. Grocery could have seen higher, vegetables could have seen higher uptake, probably fashion and retail could have seen a little less, but then definitely there was an increase. Anywhere between 10 to 50% kind of increase in the offtake on online business. So these are all the bright spots. EduTech is another area where a lot of investment and growth is happening. So when investments and growths are happening in these sectors, that means there are more job opportunities. So this is the positive side of the whole thing. We saw 19 million jobs being lost. At the same time, we're also seeing within the segment, some sub-segments where growth is happening, right? IT sector is one that has the highest potential to quickly regain in 2020-21 to their old 2019 numbers and further grow, right? Surveys continue to demonstrate that IT staffing is more resilient to this recession than most other staffing segments. But clearly, it is not immune. It is not immune. It is also affected, but not as badly affected as some of the other sectors which we named, like aviation, travel, tourism, right, and manufacturing. Look at this data. CME data says that 122 million jobs were lost in April 2020 due to the lockdown, but 21 million in May and 70 million jobs in June resurfaced. Though we lost 122 million jobs, almost 91 million jobs resurfaced in May and June. But having said that, if you look at this 122 million jobs lost, which category do they fall in? It's not, most of these are the blue collar jobs, probably the daily wages or probably the low end of the spectrum. So there, the people are regaining their jobs. In fact, if you see, there was a huge migrant population moving away from the cities. Now they're coming back. Construction activity has restarted. So industry data is showing that almost 30 million net number of jobs that have been lost since April 20, they're again able to regain most of it, right? So if you see what Praveen Rao from Infosys, who's the current NASSCOM chairman, he's saying that the $191 billion Indian IT industry might face a near-term disruption, but its fortunes will definitely revive soon after the outbreak is contained. Now, the question is, when will the outbreak be contained? That is something nobody is able to really predict or exactly pinpoint and say, okay, this will be contained by this point. People talk about different curves and we have not yet peaked. But then having said that, there will be a point when it has to be contained and then things will have to move back to near normal, what we saw in 2019. If you see most of the countries, across the Western world, where probably they've peaked much earlier than India, and the recovery path is already set in most of these countries, the pattern that is emerging is that of a swoosh, where it reflects a sudden fall and then a quick partial recovery, but a slower path to a full recovery. So that's the path that most of the economies are seeing in most of these Western countries, and it is expected a similar kind of thing will happen in India also. Right, like we just mentioned about the GDP, 23.9% was contraction in India in the first quarter. But having said that, I'm being very optimistic that, like you mentioned, Q3, Q4, by Q4 should definitely see some positive results. But again, if you look at the overall year, it could be minus 10%. These are all speculations. But since past is past, what has gone is gone. If you look at the future, Q3 and Q4 will definitely look much better than what it was. Definitely not a 23.9 kind of a contraction. The contraction will definitely dip much lower than probably it might come into the single digits, right? So one important factor that you need to give importance is during this period, particularly during April, May, June period, there has been a major shift in the consumer behavior, right? People who were spending money earlier, particularly the young generation, who are more instinctive in their purchases, right, have become very frugal. They are now looking at value and only essentials. Is this important? Do I need it? I'll buy it. Otherwise, no. Like we discussed, that there is acute shortage of money in the economy to revolve, to bring up the economy. Even if money is given, pumped into the economy, I'm sure people will tend to save than spend. That has become the tendency, the natural behavior of humans today. They want to save. They don't know what will happen tomorrow. Will this pandemic end? So the saving tendency has increased. So that's the one danger when you try to pump more. I think more than pumping money, the important thing is we'll have to rejuvenate the industry and see demand is increased, and then by increasing the demand, consumers change that. But the problem is, studies show that habits are formed in 6 weeks. But this pandemic is now more than 6 weeks, and people have already formed certain habits of buying online. Right? So will the brick and mortar stores, retail stores revive? Or will people continue to buy online, even if tomorrow the pandemic is, we are out of the pandemic and we are into normal situation? This is something no one has to watch and see. Right? For example, the food industry. Today it's a home, everything is from home. Work from home, entertainment from home, exercise from home, right? Buy from home, everything is at home. So tomorrow, when everything opens up, will people go and eat in the restaurants? Is a big question that's being asked. But if you see what happened in China, right after the pandemic, they could solve the problems there. There were huge queues in front of KFC. almost all the food joints. People were rushing there to, because we are now controlling ourselves from going out because of fear and probably doing a lot of these things online. But tomorrow when things open up, I'm sure people will again get back to the normal. But will it come to the similar situation that was there in 2019 or not is something that we'll have to watch, right? Similarly, if you see studies, what is going to be the future? Studies say that by 2021, staffing revenue is expected to increase in all countries, with India and China showing the fastest growth of almost 20% under the base case situation, expecting that the pandemic will be solved. It will not extend, it will not resurface kind of a situation. Then it is expected to show a growth of 20%, which is pretty good. Right? They're expecting US to recover by only 11%, whereas India and China, they're expecting the revival to be close to 20%. That's good. So is the worst behind us now? If you ask me, let me be very optimistic. Some of the future slides that you will see will give us that optimism that yes, definitely things will change. Like I think this is something which most of your students would be interested to know. Like Google announced a couple of weeks back, that it's expanding. They have a jobs app called Cormo Jobs. So they were expanding that in India. So it comes as to help millions of students who are looking at entry-level jobs, right? So freshers from college should try to go and explore this site, Cormo Jobs, and see how they can use this for their benefit in terms of getting into those entry-level jobs. Similarly, it also gives them helps them to learn new skills, which is very, very important in the current situation, and also create a good CV. Similarly, there's a Bangalore-based company called Able Jobs, which is also training people for the entry-level jobs. They're hiring entry-level people for sales, marketing, other functions, not only IT, right? So again, these are the two things which there are many other portals like this. I just picked up these two to highlight because they're doing a lot of things for the entry-level jobs. So I thought the college students would be more interested in this. So this is something people should try to explore and see how they can utilize these opportunities, right? So on the brighter side, if you have seen the recent headlines, Apple hits 2 trillion market valuation, almost a 59% gain this year. And it is now today the world's most valuable company. It has overtaken Aramco of Saudi Aramco. How did this happen? Despite all the pandemic, we're talking about pandemic, economy has fallen, GDP has dropped, contracted, but still Apple's market valuation has gained by 59%. Amazon has announced a couple of days back that they will add 3,500 new jobs within the US in different cities. The headquarters is in Seattle, but they want to now expand in multiple cities by setting up their offices for different purposes. It could be logistics, it could be their design, IT, whatever it is. They're going to create 3,500 new jobs. That's something phenomenal. Look at what happened in India last week. Reliance Industries takes over Future Group, 24,713 crore deal. Money is going to circulate. Money is going to come into the system. Maruti, so look at the sales of Maruti in August 2020. 1,24,000 units sold, marking a growth of 17% year on year, which means compared to last year, 2019 August, 2020 August, Maruti has sold more cars. If the economy is shrinking, if the economy is bad, how is this possible? People are buying cars. Similarly, you look at the entire OEM sales for this quarter, it is definitely showing much better results, right? So having said this, let us look at the startup scenario. Now, India is one of the major hubs for startups. It's one of the fastest growing market for startups, right? So India continues to reinforce its position as the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, according to the Indian IT industry body NASSCOM. It's one of the third largest startup ecosystem. So what happened in the startup business? If you see, 9,300 startups are there in India, right? Almost 1,300 startups have been added from January till today. That means people are investing, people are starting new business. If the economy was very bad, this wouldn't have happened. But yes, statistics are statistics. It looks very rosy. But then most of these 1,300 startups happened in Jan, Feb, March period, right? Doesn't matter. Even then, right? The pandemic was there. It may not have hit India, but it was there in China and in several other countries, Brazil, Spain, similar countries, Italy. But having said that, 1,300 startups. And what is the other important thing? There are 7 new unicorns this year till August. Unicorn is a company with a valuation of over $1 billion. There are 7 out of this 9,300 startups. There are 7 unicorns, and NASSCOM believes by 2025 there will be at least 100 unicorns in India among the startup community. These are all phenomenal things, which makes us believe that the future is not bad. It is definitely much better than what people are speculating. Why startups are important? Startups create an estimated 60,000 direct jobs and close to 2 lakh of indirect jobs. So it plays a very important role in generating not only revenue but also jobs. But then, how did the startups perform this year? Not a great performance when you actually look at the data, because again, we had one of the stringent lockdowns in the history of probably the world history. April, June was very, very stringent. So we saw 92% of the startups facing decline in revenues, which is bad news. 62% have seen revenues dip more than 40%. If you see the cash reserves, 22% only of the total startups, only 22% of them have cash reserves which will last for 3 to 6 months, which is, these are certain worrying things. I think this is where probably if the policymakers think they can pump more money, definitely the VCs are pumping more money. Startups which are good, which are strong fundamentally, the VCs are willing to invest money, and I think they will definitely overcome this. Right. Another data which can reveal a lot of things is the performance of sectors in the stock markets. Right, the market cap, what we call the market cap. Right. If you see here, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sectors that we have identified here, there are only 3 sectors which are in red. This is the current performance in the month of August. Have we taken a similar look for these 10, 11 sectors in the month of April, May? Probably all 11 would have been red. And that's why the GDP is minus 23.9%. Today, the situation is much better. Automotive is showing growth of 1.21% market cap increase in market cap. Banking and financial services, huge, almost 22,647 crores, increase in market cap, 0.72%. IT, 0.91, almost 1% growth in market cap on a huge base of almost 19 million. So this gives you hope that definitely things are improving, and it's just a matter of time before we see those things happening. Let me take one small use case, right? To understand the impact of the lockdown, because I've been stressing on this, that we had one of the toughest lockdowns in the history of world. No other country had this kind of lockdown. The impact of the lockdown, if you just take one example, just taken the transport industry of Tamil Nadu, I've taken Chennai as the base. Close to 20,000 people leave Chennai every day from Friday to Sunday during the weekend. And double that number, which is 40,000 of them will leave during holidays and festival season. This is the normal traffic trend from Chennai. People leaving from Chennai and going out to other cities, to their base cities. More than 550 buses run every day on weekends, and during weekdays, close to 400 buses run, and during festival, it doubles to 700. This is what happens normally, and during lockdown, it was hardly a bus mode, even not even a single bus mode. And the impact is they are staring at a loss of something like 2,000 crores. The industry, the transport industry in Chennai alone is staring at a loss of 2,000 crores. That is the kind of impact is being felt. This is just one use case, right? So having said that, will it continue like this? No. See, similar things might have happened in other industries also, like hospitality, travel and tourism, private schools, restaurants, health, right? Most of these places also similar kind of, may not be to this magnitude, but a different magnitude impact was felt. But the good news is, going by the trend of July, August, Q3 will see close to 80% of pre-COVID revenues, and Q4 at the near equivalent of pre-COVID for the major sectors in the economy. This is what is being predicted by many surveys across the country, right? By Q3, they're expecting 80% of pre-COVID revenues to be achieved. If that happens, I think we are getting back to the almost near normal situation by the end of Q3, and by end of Q4, probably the sector should outperform the Q1, Q2, and Q3 performance, right? So what has actually happened is, we know the issues. What the issues in hand? The projections are there, the numbers are there, the facts are there. But then, is it time to sit and worry? Definitely no. I think it's time to work on how to offset this worry. That's something that we'll have to do, right? So what they're saying is white-collar jobs and high-end jobs, right, will pick up the pace from January, February 2021. Right now, blue-collar jobs are picking up, which is very, very important for the economy. If you see the loss of jobs, white-collar jobs did not have the major impact as much as blue-collar jobs. But still, whatever loss was there in the white-collar jobs, it will pick up by Jan, February 2021. Right? This would also mean that campus placements will happen around February, March 21 period. This is, I think, again, it's a speculation, it's a guess. But if it happens, it's good news for the students who are waiting for campus placements to restart. And I'm sure if the economy grows the way we are expecting it to grow, by February, March period, companies will be back in campuses to start the campus placements. Now, what do we do? Right now, we know the problem. We have seen the numbers, but we also know these problems are temporary. Right. So some steps that I thought we should take, particularly the student community for whom this is very worrying. Normally, engineering students, when they're in the third year, campus placements happen, and once they're out of the fourth year, the moment the results come, they're on job. But today, the situation, I think almost 1 year is going to be affected for them. So what steps they need to take? The first step is to make a list of everything that could go wrong. Identify what things can go wrong for us because of this pandemic situation. Once we have listed out everything that could go wrong, come up with counters. Come up with, okay, if this is wrong, what should I do? Pair up basically the solutions. So you know the problem, you know the solution, pair them up. For this, I should take this action. Basically, the action that you take is based on the solution, you need to take an action. So you're pairing up the problem to a solution and then execute. You need to execute an action to that. So that is the second step. Third, we need to be more agile and adaptable to the new norms. Now, is it going to be same once the pandemic is over? It's a very difficult question to answer. It may not be same. You might see a new norm establishing itself in the job market. People need to keep a close watch on what's happening in the job market, right? Like this, basically what I'm saying is to, it's not to make you more anxious, right? It's only to help you to spot your potential problems. If you want to find a solution for them, we'll have to identify the potential problems. If you are able to identify the potential problems, the solutions can be found. Once we found the solutions, we'll have to only patch them and then see what we need to do based on the solutions that we have found, which is not an easy job, but it is necessary. One has to do it, right? We need to be more agile. We need to be fast. There is no luxury of time. Probably till 2019, okay, let me think about it. Let me plan. I might take a week, 10 days, 20 days, 1 month to plan. But today, we don't have the luxury of time. People need to react fast and move fast, right? And they need to adapt to the new situations fast. Speed of change and its acceptance. Things are changing, definitely. When things are changing, we need to accept the change first. If you don't accept the change, then you become obsolete. So that's very, very important. What is changing? Like I said, retail business from brick and mortar model to online business. If online business is increasing, and if it is going to stay in the near future, again, continue to stay, then what should I do? I need to pick up skills that will help me to land a job in an e-platform kind of a company if I'm a computer engineer, if I'm a software engineer, or I need to learn skills of what a sales manager should do in an e-commerce kind of a business. What skills that I need to acquire is something that a salesperson or a sales and marketing guy doing an MBA should think of. It's no more channel management. Channel management is important. It will be there. It's still going to be there in many sectors. But at the same time, there are new opportunities coming up in the e-platform area where people need to reskill themselves and see that they position themselves when those opportunities come. Fifth one is ability to innovate. innovation is the end thing. They must be open to new ideas, new trends, new practices. Let me give a small example, Mr. Kuti. Work from home, right? Nobody thought about work from home, right? If you see, till 2019, even in the IT industry, which is known for work from home, managers were very reluctant to allow their people to work from home whenever they request. No, you should come to the office. They thought controls are better only when they come to the office. But in the last 6 months, all those theories have been proved wrong. In fact, productivity has increased after people started work from home. So it's there's a kind of a paradigm shift happening here in the work culture. Now, if work from home is the norm, people thought only certain jobs can be done from home, whereas there are certain jobs which one has to come to the office, like the call centers, BPOs. But even that myth was burst. Today, there are companies which are operating their call centers from home. People are working from home, attending to those calls. Only thing is they have to tweak their infrastructure. Right, so that is the kind of change that is happening. So people should innovate and think out of the box, be willing to accept those new ideas and move along with it quickly. And most important, I would underline this, is to acquire those new skill sets in line with the industry trends. What's happening in the industry? Youngsters should keep a watch. What is happening? What is the new trend? Or it could be digital. For example, today, companies, the survival of, earlier digital was an option. Today, digital is no more an option. It is a necessity. It's no longer an option. So companies will go digital. So if companies are going to go digital, we should be prepared to be part of the digital transformation that all the companies that are going to undertake. So we need to reskill ourselves in that digital technology. What is digital? What can I learn in digital technology? Where all I can participate? How can I get a job? These are the things that they should think about and reskill themselves and establish and ensure that when these opportunities throw up, they're ready with those skill sets so that they can grab those opportunities coming up. So this is something very, very important. One last thing that I would like to share with you is there is a study commissioned by IMA, All India Institute of Management. They have commissioned a study of called a high-level strategic group. They formed a high-level strategic group with people from different corporates, education institutions, and all that, and they made a very detailed study. This group has identified opportunities for India Inc. To capitalize and for the policymakers to support. This study reveals many fascinating facts. For example, in the US and most of Europe, spurred by the retirement issues, the average age in these countries is above 50. So retirement is a big thing that is hitting them already, right? So 60 million in the US in the next 20 years is going to be the kind of retirements happening in the US, which means US will see a shortage of almost 36 million workforce by 2031. Same thing is happening in Germany, same thing is happening in UK, same thing is happening in Japan. All these countries have an aged population, and that is the biggest advantage India has. India has a mid-age population segment, which is very huge. And if we are able to reskill ourselves, then there is a huge opportunity for us to go and grab, right? This group identifies two sectors actually. One is professional services. Professional services like IT professional services, IT-enabled services. It could be your BPOs, your call centers, your HR work. You do from India. You need not go there. All these things can be done from India. Companies are there in the US, UK, Germany. Germany is one of the third largest economy in the world. So work is available there, but it will be outsourced to India, and we can definitely try to grab a major chunk of that market. Telemedicine is a growing market. Today, healthcare is one of the cheapest in the world. Indian healthcare is quality-wise one of the best and price-wise one of the lowest. We should take advantage of that. E-learning, again, one of the best talent is available in India, and we can take classes for people sitting across the globe from India. So these are opportunities that are available for us in India. Telemedicine, e-learning, IT-enabled services, and IT services. Second is customers serviced in India. It could be the special services, tourism like healthcare, bring people from there, provide them healthcare in India, and then It's a huge market. Same thing, educational services, leisure travel. Colleges like Amrita Vidyapeetham can attract students from other countries because we provide one of the best education systems in the world, quality-wise, and we can see that we bring revenue to India by bringing in students from those other countries. Third thing is, again, studies show that India's e-commerce industry, it is still in its infancy, right? 120 million online shoppers in 2018 out of a population of more than 1 billion. Just 120 million are using online, right? And Forrester believes, they predict that the e-commerce sales in the country will reach $86 billion by 2024. And I can say it will be probably even more than this after this pandemic, because more and more people, and it can happen even much earlier than 2024, because habits have already changed. People are already buying online for a very long time, and those habits are already established. It will be very difficult for them to go back to the normal buying habits. So I think this 2024 target may move a little ahead, looking at the current trend. So having said this, are we ready? Is our student community ready? Are our college graduates, do they possess those employable skills? Is something that we need to ponder. I think both from the institution point of view, and also from the parents' point of view, and also from the students' their own point of view. I think there's a lot to think of. How do we reskill ourselves? What are those new skill sets that are emerging? And there are so many opportunities. There are so many portals that are available which are willing to skill people, reskill people, teach new things. It's available. Only thing, people have to look for them and then identify what is important, what is the trend, and then quickly learn those new skill sets so that when those opportunities come, they grab those opportunities. So these are a few things that I thought I should share. Like they say, COVID is contagious, fear is also contagious, so is courage. I think it's time that we need to be courageous, and if it's something that we can definitely overcome. I think I'm very optimistic. It's just a matter of another 1 quarter we are going to hit, because even the geopolitical situation is today favoring India. So I think, looking at all those factors, India is definitely the place where things are going to happen, and economic activity is bound to happen, and more jobs will be generated in India. It's just a matter of time that we'll have to wait. But when in this waiting period, we should not idle. We should utilize this time to learn new things, is what I would stress upon.
Kiran, I certainly appreciate your optimism. I mean, I really appreciate, and thanks a lot for detailed analysis of the opportunities that are likely to come in the next 4 or 5 quarters to go ahead. And we appreciate that. I think looking at your facts and figures, I'm also becoming an optimistic personality, and I'm sure that one need to bear and drag along for the next 1 quarter and could see greener sprouts coming up as far as the Indian economy is concerned. And there's nothing much to worry about it, as rightly mentioned by Kiran, that let's have the courage in ourselves. That's the only way to move forward. So certainly thank you for your well-prepared points, which I reciprocate and would be helpful to those people who are viewing us now and also at a later stage on our Amrita Vidyapeetham YouTube. You can always view this and many number of times, take some points, and then learn to yourself that there's nothing to worry. Have the courage to face this as it comes through. So thank you on this front, and I want to clarify a few of the doubts which I have today. A few, not even a few, 1 or 2 doubts which I have. Given this problem of the depressions and the purchasing power of people, it's not just because of COVID-19. It was already there last year, and it's nothing to do with the overall purchasing power coming down in the hands of the Indian consumers. What I'm trying to say is that the technological advancement and transformation is playing a vital role in eating away certain jobs. You find robots, the bots coming up across doing some human jobs, and I understand 45 to 50% of the jobs which are currently available today may not be there in the next couple of years or 3. So it was already there. For example, the industries also, certain industries, certain brands are dying. For example, you would have heard something to do with Kodak right? Films and Agfa films, which is not there now. So the entire click of the camera, you get films. So where is the film papers? It's not there. And Kodak used to be the market leaders at 85% in terms of market share. So they're not there. Where are those Rajdoot bikes, which I'm sure Kiran would have heard in his younger days? That's not there. Where are those Texla TVs, Easy TVs, Dynora, Solitaire, all those TVs? It's got taken a beating. It's not there. Ambassador cars, where are they now? It is not there. So even those Vespa scooters, which I remember as early as 1960s, if somebody wants to buy a Vespa scooter, he or she needs to wait for 5 years. Unless you're an NRI, you pay the full amount in dollars and then you can get it within 2 years. So where are those Vespa? Okay, maybe they have already come back to some level, but they're not there today. The industry, certain brands are dying, certain new brands are picking up. Similarly, what I'm trying to say is the post-COVID, the business model which is currently seen pre-COVID will totally change. There will be a shift in the mechanism of the business models, and you will now have to tell us which are the jobs which will become obsolete. That one need not bother at all. It's not going to be there at all. And which are the jobs which would be actually flourishing in the next post-COVID-19? Over to you, Mr. Kiran.
So, Mr. Kuti, so before I get into the relevance of the jobs and or the non-relevance of some certain categories, just taking those examples that you quoted, Kodak, Rajdoot, Vespa, right? Whatever those few examples that you took, if you see, why did they fail? Why did they become obsolete? Because they did not accept change. Kodak did not accept digital. Sony accepted digital. So quickly they could come with digital cameras, whereas Kodak did not accept digital, they failed. Nokia did not accept Android, Nokia failed, right? So many examples like this. So same thing, Vespa did not accept gearless scooters. They said, no, a scooter means it has to have gears. Ambassador was not willing to change from its traditional model designs to the more modern designs, the small cars, the mini cars, and the different segments that we have today in the car segment, passenger car segment. Ambassador was not willing to change. So people who did not change along with the change that was happening around have gone. They've all become obsolete. People like in the same automobile industry, look at Bajaj. Bajaj also had a scooter called Chetak competing with Vespa, a gear scooter. But then they accepted change. They brought in the required changes in their models and they quickly adapted to it. Today, they are one of the largest manufacturers of two-wheelers in the world. So people who have accepted change and have gone ahead have flourished. People did not accept change, have become obsolete. So that's
the learning.
That's a matter of fact.
Learning, Kiran, is that if you want to survive in the future, I think we need to welcome the changes. If you don't,
we must welcome change. We must accept change, and we must go along with the change. Otherwise, we become obsolete.
Absolutely.
And timing is very critical. Timing is very, very critical. How quickly you adapt to change is important. And the second thing about the jobs,
I always say, Kiran, that change before the changes take place. Change correct. Before the changes take place. But Kiran, the human tendency is to wait and watch as to how others change, and then if it becomes prosperous, then you start changing. And that's a wrong way of
exactly. You hit the word. Let me give you an example, sir. See, please. Most companies, all of us, most companies across the globe, all the marketing strategists who sit and do the strategies for the companies, they do strategies based. Most of the strategies are agile. They are more of reaction. This happened, okay, then let us do this, right? Today in this pandemic, if most companies are failing, if the companies which are failing are companies who are more reactive in the strategy than companies who follow the scenario-based strategy. People, this is something I've heard about this somewhere where what they say is the strategists should actually create scenarios. Is this the first time that the world is affected by a virus? No. We had multiple examples of viruses in the history. Right? So many times it has happened. Wars happen regularly. Wars are there happening everywhere. Right? We don't know. But then strategists are supposed to create the scenarios. If a war happens with China, with Pakistan, anywhere, with any country, what do I do? How will my market react and how do my sales suffer? What should I do? Those strategies should be in place, already in place. If a virus affects, like SARS, if another virus comes, what should I do? Probably had we done that, Today, when COVID has happened, those strategies, probably with some tweaking, would have helped. So the problem is, many companies don't follow the scenario-based strategy. So I think it's time now that corporates change from agile-based strategy to scenario-based strategy. That is going to help them a lot in reacting to these situations whenever they occur in the future. And those companies who follow this might fare much better than other companies who follow the agile-based reaction. That's one thing. The other thing which you mentioned just now is about how technology is robbing jobs or taking away jobs. Actually, I would say technology creates jobs. If you actually look at it. If you remember, 20 years back, I still remember, when I was a kid, when the banking industry was being, computerized, there was so much of turmoil in the industry. Almost every day there was a strike. The unions became very active. They said there will be thousands of job losses. But did it happen? Computerization happened. Automation happened. What is the advantage of? See, you'll have to balance between the advantages of technology and the disadvantages. The advantages is, as consumers, we are benefited. There is ease in our transactions. The service levels have improved because of automation. Right? Today I can sit at home and I can transfer money, I can buy things. Were all these things possible 20 years back? No. Today it is possible because of technology. Now, who created this technology? People like you and me. Those are new jobs. Probably a bank clerk job has reduced. If it was 100 20 years back, today there could be only 20 jobs. But those 80 jobs have been created in the IT space for people to create these applications for the customers to use in the banking industry. So there is just a displacement of jobs and creation of jobs from one sector to another sector. That is where I'm saying people should follow this trend and watch out which sector is generating jobs, what change is happening, and quickly adapt to that. As a banker 20 years back, I had two choices: to learn computers or to take voluntary retirement and go home. People who took voluntary retirement have gone. People who have learned computers continue to work, and they are using computers in their banks and using it comfortably. So that's the kind of choice that people need to make, whether I accept change and go along with the change or not. But I can for sure tell you, technology does not rob jobs. It only displaces jobs from one sector to another sector. Even robots, if tomorrow, I don't think every job can be taken over by a bot. There are a lot of restrictions there also. But then who creates those bots? Again, there is an opportunity for people to learn technology around bot, how to create a bot, and then become a technologist creating those bots. So I think every new technology which comes along with that, new opportunities come. For example, let us look at the current situation. Work from home, most of online business happening. Cybersecurity has become very active. Probably 6 months back, cybersecurity was not a major threat. People were taking it a little easy. But today, because of more online transactions happening, companies are more worried about their data, and they are investing more on cybersecurity, whether it is tools or people to keep watch on activities, right? So more jobs are being created around cybersecurity. So those are all opportunities that come up whenever there is a problem. Whenever a problem comes, opportunity also comes along with that. I think people ignore the opportunities, they go after the problems, they suffer. People who look at those opportunities when these problems arise, grab those opportunities, and then they prosper. So I think that's something that we need to identify.
Which are the industry, in your opinion, Mr. Kiran, like for example, I look at health industry picking up 3 times, 4 times in the next couple of years because of all experiences that we had gone through in the last 4 to 5 months of COVID-19, and a lot more to be done as far as Indian economy is concerned, Indian health system is concerned. That would be number one. I mean, am I right, or you have something else in your mind?
You're right. See, I would categorize this into 3 categories. Worst impacted during the COVID because of the COVID, reasonably impacted, less impacted. Right? If I take the worst impacted industries, it is retail, manufacturing, travel, and hospitality. These are the 4 which are worst impacted during the COVID period. Right? Less impacted or relatively less impacted: financial services, energy, and utilities. What better opportunities: communication, high tech, life sciences, healthcare are the sectors which relatively perform much better. So let me give you a simple example, Mr. Kuti. For example, insurance, right? Health insurance is something which has definitely grown in this period. surprisingly, job loss insurance is something which is picking up in the insurance sector now. People are going for job loss insurance. They're taking coverage. It's a new sector that is improving. So see the opportunities which are coming up along with this problem. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. So now, worst impacted, relatively less impacted, will they continue to be in the same thing? No, they will definitely improve. I think over the next 2 quarters, situation, the badly impacted sectors will move probably to the less impacted, and the less impacted to the good. They will prosper. But then, will they retain the 2019 numbers? That's a difficult question to answer. Basically, because if you see the consumer durables, Hindustan Lever or any of those companies, right? Earlier were probably if their sales were taking through retail channel, today it's happening through online channel. So for them, there is no change. See the beauty of it. Still, the customer is only thing is the purchases must have come down. So you will see an impact of 15 to 20%. But once the situation improves, even that will go, and then it will be near normal situation of what you saw in 2019, and some growth will definitely be seen by Q4 because customers will still continue to buy those products instead of going and buying from a shop. They will buy from an online source if they want to still.
As far as the health insurance is concerned, one has to go through those. There's a limitation on age, and regarding the job loss, is there any age restrictions, Kiran?
I think
you know the reason why I'm asking that.
I think it should be obviously the premium will be high.
Sorry, so I missed the birth plan. Okay, fine. Coming back to the final discussion would be like we have the new education policy of 2020, wherein we always believe to bring in those 21st century skills to our students. We talk about the collaboration, we talk about the communication, we talk about critical thinking, we talk about creative thinking. That would be the 4 C's which we talk about in terms of 21st century skills. But I would add on to that is the character and then, of course, the citizenship. So this is on the educational front. But if you have to just direct our students who are into engineering, or even the school children who are now watching our the big talk, what would be those top 3 skills that they could develop even without going to school or without going to the college, that you can develop those skills sitting at home? And tomorrow is not going to be like, once the COVID is gone, everybody takes the school bus and goes to school. It's not going to have. And I'm confident about the fact that tomorrow you're going to see something called a blended learning, teaching and learning experience. Maybe out of 6 days, 3 days in school and 3 days at home. So under these circumstances, Mr. Kiran, from your experience and the knowledge and that you have, regarding the skills that need to be developed as for the 21st century skills for the students to exist and survive in the future professions, whatever they pick up for future jobs. So what would be the 3 top priority in terms of skills building for our students? Over to you, Kiran.
Frankly speaking, I don't think there's any change in the basic skills that one needs to acquire. I think it was there earlier also, and it will continue to be the same. Like what you mentioned just now in terms of character, honesty and integrity. I think particularly for college students, freshers, when they want to get hired by companies, what companies look at is, 1, definitely is good communication skills. 2, attitude. And most important is integrity, honesty and integrity, right? I think though I mentioned this 3rd, honesty and integrity, but it's the first point, right? People like to hire resources who are honest and their integrity levels are the highest, because at the end of the day, they represent the organization. They are the brand ambassadors for the organization. So they don't want to have wrong people and then suffer on the brand image. And obviously, once this is taken care of, honesty and integrity part of it is taken care of, then the 2 important factors are attitude and communication. Attitude, because in an organization, you're not an individual. You need to work as teams. So to work as teams, you need to carry the right attitude. If you are an individual contributor, no company is interested. Companies are interested to work with people who are willing to work in teams. You can be an individual contributor within the team, but you cannot say, no, I will work individual, I don't want to be part of a team. No. So that's something which attitude is something people look for. And communication becomes important because today it's a global village. It's no more, I'm working in Chennai, I'm working in Bangalore, I'm working in Kanpur. No. Even if I work in Kanpur, I need to talk to my client probably in Germany or in US, anywhere. So my communication skills need to be good. If these three things are taken care of, I'm sure youngsters will go places. And of course, on the job, they acquire the other skills. As they go and get into an organization, they will acquire all the skills that are required to take them to the next level, right? So, but if these three basic skills are taken care of, in addition to the technical skills, job skills, which are required for the role that they want to play. If it's sales, the sales-oriented skills. If it is marketing, marketing-oriented skills. If it's IT, IT-oriented skills. Depending on the situation, they need to acquire those skills, which are you teach them in the college. So I think if it's a blend of these two, students can definitely flourish, and opportunities are going to come up, and they need not be worried at all. I think early 2021, February, March, things will definitely be much better than 2019 situation, particularly in India, because of various reasons that we've discussed so far, including the geopolitical situation. I think students are going to see happy days very soon.
Sure, with this happy note, children, listen to what Mr. Kiran just conveyed to all of us, the 21st century skills before and when you continue in a particular job, those top four most skills that you need to develop is your attitude, your communication, honesty, and integrity. Keeping this in mind, Kiran, it's our pleasure to have you for this particular show, The Big Talk, and I'm sure that, and confident, of course, that this particular talk would have been of immense help to all the students watching this show. And not only just immense interest in watching the show, but then it would have certainly picked up a level of confidence in them that the future is not going to be bleak. The future is going to be open in terms of the job markets, maybe a few months to just go on. So, Kiran, if you have something to say as a final say to our children, over to you, Kiran. And then
like I said in my last slide, fear is contagious, so is courage. So be courageous. I think things will all fall in place. Opportunities will come, but be ready, be prepared to grab those opportunities is what I would like to tell them. And before I conclude, I would like to thank Mr. Budi once again for giving me this opportunity to be part of your Big Talk series. And I look forward for many such opportunities. Absolutely. If I can contribute something, I would love to contribute.
Absolutely, Kiran. There's no doubt about your contribution. I'm sure about watching your PowerPoints and the points and the facts and figures that you had just showed all of us. We would have, I'm sure that each of us would have developed lots and lots of courage in ourselves to face the world in the future, right? Post COVID-19. So with these words, it's my pleasure to say double thank you to Kiran for his time being spent to us, conveying about the optimism in terms of the future job availability in India as well as abroad. And I'm sure it has benefited many of us and will continue to benefit as this video will be incorporated into Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham YouTube. So please watch it, understand it, like it and enjoy it, and implement the points mentioned by Kiran. So Kiran, on behalf of Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, I'm thankful to you for your presence and deliberations for the last almost about 65 to 70 minutes. And as you rightly said, we certainly require your sharing of knowledge with all of us in the future months and years to come. So wish you a very safety life in Bangalore. And as things ease off, let's create an opportunity where we meet in person and talk about it a little more detailed. So thank you once again, Kiran, for your presence. And this is Medal Krish signing off from Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, Etimade. So till we meet again, stay safe, stay secured. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.